Nicks and Bruises, we are back after a loss this time, but you know, also coming off a 3 game winning streak. Well, prior to that, so all things aren't lost in that. I got the Queen in the building as usual. Your Blackest Time. Thanks for joining me, Queen.
Appreciate you for having me. You know, when we get together, it's always something good.
Yeah. We're gonna rehash some hot topics as of late. RJ's hot stretch. I think even though he didn't get 30, he continued that today. I think he had a real good game. Same with last game, didn't get 30, but we like what we see from him. So,
Definitely.
first question, on the board is, has RJ Barrett arrived? If he has, what might that mean for this organization? So, what's your take on, has he arrived?
I mean, it's hard to say. It's been like 7, 8 games, but by arrive, do you mean like a number one option, or by arrive, do you mean finally at the point where we can count on him consistently game in and game out?
The latter, game in and game out.
Yeah, I would,
I,
if I
I'd
had to put my go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. I'd say, has he solidified his pecking order as the number two guy? You know what I mean?
I think so. I think so. This is a long stretch. You remember before he was on this stretch around that New Orleans game, but it was like maybe 5 games and he dropped off. It's been about like seven, 7, 8, maybe, maybe 10 games. So I think so. I don't think that he's gonna score 25, 30 every night. But as I've said, his approach to the game, if it stays that way, that's what we need from him. Just keep approaching the game the same way. Be aggressive. Take what the defense gives you. Pass when you don't have it. The same thing he's doing now. Yeah. Yeah, I think very much so. He can continue to do that for the rest of the season. Obviously, me, I got to see you in the playoffs before I start talking about you anything. And I said that about Randall even after that great season he had. So, but I like what I'm seeing from him.
No, for sure, for sure. Um, Again, we rehashing tonight. So
Mhm.
the Cam Reddish edition. What are your thoughts on it? Do you think RJ being here had something to do with him come them going after him? And then, we're gonna dip into the Zion rumors and conspiracies.
Right. I don't think so. I think the Knicks is just trying to stockpile assets, until something comes along that they like, and I think they're going to trade some of these assets in. I think that they need to do something to open up a roster spot so he can play, so we can really see what we have. Um, it's going to be interesting. And as far as Zion is concerned, I'm not a big fan.
All right,
I'm just not.
we
We'll
we're
get
gonna
into
we're
that.
gonna
Okay.
we're gonna deep dive
Okay.
into that
Okay.
in a second. I think we're almost on the same page about it. I will say it's intriguing. I will say that. Um, so you made some good points with Cam coming in and us bringing him in. Whether it had anything to do with RJ or not, I'm gonna get into that in a second as well. You made a great point that if he's gonna be here and he's gonna play,
Right.
we're gonna have to figure out some kind of roster move, and I do think there's more moves coming. I think it's inevitable.
Yeah.
Um, we don't have the same situation with the guy that we traded for with Cam or for Cam for with Knox as somebody who's not necessarily in the rotation is okay with it, or the fan
Hmm.
base is okay with it. You know what I mean? Even though there was some guys screaming for Knox over Obi, that was a thing for real out there.
Hmm. Hmm.
But he wasn't in the rotation. I don't know if it would be as acceptable with this new addition. So I agree. Any speculation on? Let's go here. Let's say we don't make a move, right? What do you think how do we adjust this roster, this rotation? Who's in, who's out, why, and who is situational, but with that true chance of breaking.
That is a tough question because it's crowded now. We're not even talking about Kemba when he comes back. The way Tibbs is talking, he's going to be probably back starting. Rose, when he comes back off of, his injury, um, this roster is stacked with players who can contribute. Right, I want to say stacked too much. We in 11, we in 11th place in the conference, but stacked with players who can contribute. I think you think back to the beginning of the season when everybody was healthy, Grimes wasn't even in the rotation. So who are we going to take out of the rotation? If you take Burke out of the rotation, the only issue I have with that is that now you're going super young. Like everybody is, you're going super young. And if you're trying to rebuild, that's the way to go. But if you're trying to get in the playoffs, it's not. So who are you taking out? Are you taking quickly out the rotation for Grimes and making quickly situational? Are you taking Obi out of the rotation to put Reddish in the rotation? Maybe play him three and a little small ball four because he's 6'8". I mean, I guess you could say he could play the stretch four position. I think Grimes has earned his minutes. I think I would play Grimes over IQ at this point
You
when we're back full. When we
you
back
hit
full,
you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly where I was going. But go ahead and
that's where you
elaborate.
was going to.
Go ahead and
But
elaborate.
but but the Cam, like, are you gonna take Burks out? You're gonna take like where are you gonna play him? Or are you gonna sit both IQ and Grimes so he can play with Burks right when Rose get back? Those are tough decisions. So I'm really
Mhm.
interested in how you figured it out.
I mean, I agree. I think Grimes at this point, even with Quickly's growth, even with Quickly's you know shot making ability, I think Grimes has shown he's far superior on defense. Number one, out the gate, but what he gives offensively is he may miss the shot, but you're not going to question whether it was a good shot or a bad shot.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
so he's consistent in staying within his role. Now, this is not a knock against IQ. I love IQ. I love what he gives, but I think for consistency, I think his leash gets shortened. Let's say that he gets into that position where you got your opportunity while while you get your minute,
Hmm.
2 minutes. If you're not doing anything, you're gonna lose that opportunity. Similar to what we see with Obi,
Hmm.
but I think because he's so good defensively, he kind of deserves that, especially in this system, in what Tibbs does. He's
Right.
almost filling in the Bullock role
Right.
to a T.
Yeah. And if you take away point guard duties that Quickly has, I think Grimes gives us the same thing. I mean, Quickly is a much better defender than he was last year. Grimes is just as good, better. And as far as a shot maker, I think Grimes is better. As Infamous New King said in the chat, Grimes is under control.
Yes,
He takes good shots.
yes.
Now the only thing that Grimes may not have that we don't know yet, is Quickly can get hot. He can get hot. I've seen it and
Hmm.
and and just go off in bunches. Um, but he takes those bad shots in order to get hot. You know what I mean? Like Grimes is just not going to do that. He's going to play within the confines of the offense.
And
I would play Grimes over IQ.
he seems to be comfortable in the role. And again, this is no knock to IQ because I love the fact that he's fearless. I think that's an attribute, but it could
Mm-hmm.
also be detrimental at certain
Mm-hmm.
points in the game. And the thing with IQ is it's very tricky because for him to be his best, you have to let him be him. You can't restrict him.
Right.
You know, you
Right.
can't kind of. I hate using all the dog references when I'm talking about players, but you can't muzzle him. You know what I mean?
Right.
You gotta
Right.
let him be free for him to be his best. But you know, there's always a risk that you're taking with it. I think even
Right.
with Grimes' missed shots, they're always good shots.
Right.
You're never gonna question whether that was a bad shot or not. And I think he could equally get hot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I think that's one position where we're gonna see or we may see a change. I also think Obi's the other guy. Had a good
You
game
would play
today.
Cam over Obi?
Not initially. I wouldn't just take
Mm-hmm.
it from Obi.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow, I don't know how this works, but somehow Cam is gonna have to wait his turn and then produce when he gets his turn, as everyone else has done. The
Right.
Grimes, the Obies, the McBrides, you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
You got to treat him as an equal off jump, and I don't think we have to worry about that with Tibbs.
Mm-hmm.
He's not established enough to get like the Derrick Rose treatment of
Right.
just jumping in the rotation when you
Right.
get
Right.
here.
Right.
But I think if he shows what he's capable of defensively, I think absolutely he begins to get the minutes over a guy like Obi right now.
The only thing I'll say about that is it's still not enough minutes. Because Obi is just taking whatever's left over from
Hmm.
Randall. You know, yeah, is it enough minutes?
And then I mean the next thing in that same realm is Fournier being not
That's a good
relegated to
point.
the bench, but being in that muzzled role where if you're not producing, you're gonna have a seat, especially if it's defensively, or I shouldn't even say that, especially if it's offensively. The
Hmm.
defense, we kind of know what it is. We hope for the effort and everything, but we, I don't think he gets benched for a defensive lapse if he's scoring.
Right.
So,
Right.
but again, I think that's where that happens as well. I think certain guys are gonna have to be put on a tighter leash
Least.
to get the minutes for a guy like Cam. And then
Would you
I
make? Oh, sorry.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to ask, would you make Fournier situational? Like, would you play? Obviously, Cam has to earn it. It's not something that you would do, right off the bat. But in the limited minutes he initially got and he played well, would you play him over Fournier or over Burks so that he can get more minutes?
Cam, you're speaking.
Yeah,
Uh,
tough one, right?
I mean, if he's producing and we're winning, absolutely. I don't think there's no question about it. Um, Burks, I don't know because I think one thing, the reason I value Burks so much, and this is why it was tricky for me. I thought Thibodeau would have kept Bullock over Burks, but my personal preference was Burks over Bullock, and it's
Hmm.
because of his versatility. I mean, look what he's doing playing the point guard, whether he's a true point or not. Like he's coming in and fulfilling whatever role is asked for him. If he needs to start at the two, he will. If he needs to start at the one, he will. If he needs to come off the bench, he will. If his role on the bench has to be something different than no, like it could be one, two, or three there as well. So
Hmm.
Swiss Army knife, uh,
Yeah.
decent enough defender to where he's not a liability. Plays passing lanes well. Like he comes up with big plays, offensively and defensively. I think he's undervalued, honestly. from a Knicks fan perspective. When that's why I think he is worth a first round pick. If we were going that direction, I hope we do not.
Hmm.
I think he has the same type of value that a Mook had when we got
Yeah,
rid of him.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so Burks, I don't know if he would get the minutes over Burks because Burks is so multi positional, so valuable in so many different ways. So it's kind of unfair to even think that's possible because he can play 1, 2, 3.
yeah.
I
He
don't know
can.
if Cam is doing that. So Burks is automatically going to have more chances if that makes sense.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. And I think Tibbs likes Burks, and I think Tibbs trusts him. And I think that's the thing with Tibbs. If he trusts you, you stay in that rotation, you get that longer leash, and it takes a while to earn his trust. Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to the chat. Excuse me, I didn't have it up originally,
Hmm.
and thank you Stephanie for reaching out to them because it reminded
Hmm.
me that I didn't have the chat up. So salute to you guys, Sergeant G Man for life. I see you. Who else we got here? Brian Robinson, my guys. Thanks for jumping in. Dripmore, infamous new king. Everybody, salute you guys. I appreciate it. Um, so another, obviously, you mentioned it a little bit earlier, way for us to kind of solidify this roster and this rotation is making a move. Um,
Right.
and another trade being presented. I think depending on who we're trading for. Well, either way, I think we have to do a 2-for-1 somehow and give up
Yeah.
2 players and get one back just to kind of solidify this roster and open space for whether it be um, Cam or even a Grimes who we have, like you said, we haven't talked about when Rose comes back, when Kemba comes
Hmm.
back. So I think we need at least one spot open, possibly two.
Right.
I know how you feel about Miles Turner. We've talked intensely, immensely about Brunson, so I don't want to talk about those guys.
Okay.
I want to see if we can figure out. And shout out to Josh and Andy with the fans spot. I should have did my research prior to, but I'll do
Hmm.
that. Do that next time. But any other guys out there that you think,
Could
I
help
mean,
us that
could
that
help
that
us?
they've been talking about.
What's your thoughts on Levert? He's not playing the point, right?
He plays the two. We got so many wing players. Um, I like him though. Um, but he would you're not bringing him in to if you bring him in, you bringing him in to start. Like you're not bringing him in to come off the bench. I think so.
And
That
that's why I
means you're
asked,
gonna start.
can he play the one?
I don't think so. I think
Okay.
it would be like Burks. He
Hmm.
could play it, but that's not really his position. So you put him at the two, you put RJ at the three. That means Cam comes off the bench, and I have um no problem with that. Um,
So you think
I'm not
Fournier
sure
would
what you
be
do
in
with
that?
Fournier, right?
Okay.
What you're gonna do with Fournier. So it depends on how many players are going out. But Karis LeVert can play, and he's one of them guys that can get hot as well.
Hmm. How is he
Yeah,
defensively?
he's good defensively, and he has that potential as well. He has the skill set, so I'm not worried. If you have the skill set, you come play for the Knicks, you're gonna be fine.
What about
You're gonna
the
play
the
D.
the other former uh Brooklyn guy and Dinwiddie?
Dinwiddie is not. He plays well without Beal. But when Bill is playing, he doesn't like if Bill is playing, he might have 8 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. If Bill is not playing, he'll have like 20 points, uh, 7 rebounds, 8 assists. So for whatever reason, that's not working out the way they wanted it to. And I'm wondering, I don't watch them enough. This is just what I'm noticing in the box scores.
Hmm.
I'm wondering if he came here, would it be the same thing? Because we got a lot of players on the ball that handles the ball, and Randall, well, not a lot, but Randall and RJ. Um,
And it sounded like he wanted a bigger role leaving New Jersey. Excuse me, leaving Brooklyn. And so, yeah, the question becomes: does he need to be the number one guy for him to thrive, or something of that sort? Is that what you're saying?
I
Like
think he needs to
the
have the ball
question?
in his hands.
Okay.
Yeah, because he's playing off a bill right now, and he's statistically he could be doing other things, but statistically, he's not playing great.
Sims guy, um, Patrick
Boss,
Beverly.
oh Beverly, I like Bev. I like Beverly. I think though with his age, he would be a stopgap,
Stop that.
right? Isn't he in his 30s already? Um,
Probably. I
I'll
think
have to check.
I would think early 30s. I would think so.
Yeah. Um, I think he would help with this team. With our particular team right now, he could defend the ball ferociously, right? He's not a shooter. He's not a shooter though. But he would definitely be an asset
D-
on us. I don't think I would give up a lot for him though. He's 33. Yeah.
mm.
So it would be like a stopgap
and,
if we can't get a point guard of the future.
and you start him, I'm assuming.
Um, would I start Pat Beverly over Kimba? That's a very good question because remember we already got Mitch in the lineup. Though Mitch is doing better off of alley oops and offensive rebounds, but he's not somebody that's stretching the defense, right? Because he can shoot. Then you put Pat Bev in there. He's not stretching the defense because he really doesn't shoot. Um, but how do you bring him off the bench? You gonna bring him off the bench with Rose?
No, I would. I mean, I would assume Rose would have to start. Kimba would have to be gone. And
Oh,
let's
okay.
let's let's go there. Speaking of Kimba, do you think his he is impossible to move?
Yeah, because when he went on that tear, that would have been the best time to try to move him because he looked like he was coming into his own. This is the Kemba we signed for the season. Then he had the knee injury and he missed so many games. So I don't think teams right now would be willing to. It's not a big contract though.
Hmm.
Um, but as a throw in, maybe. But like straight up, like a trade centered around Kemba. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think. I was really saying, do you think him being thrown in is the deal breaker? Where they're like, no, we're not taking him. I
I
definitely
don't
didn't
think
mean
it would be.
centered around him. Like, no, I don't think. I
Right.
mean, even us getting him, we knew it was a risk. You knew a lot more than some of us others.
Right,
Like you
right.
was on it from the beginning.
From the
So,
beginning, I got all the smoke in the beginning, right?
but we knew it was a risk there. But do you think a team, and this again, not saying he's going to be the focal point, but I think teams will, number one, I think teams were rooting for him. Thought, other than the players who voiced their opinions and former players who voiced their opinions, um, I think GMs and maybe even coaches around the league didn't necessarily look at that as a good thing.
Hmm.
Him going to the bench like indefinitely or whatever the case, and then him coming back and showing what he was capable of. I think that may have opened some eyes,
Hmm.
even the ones that doubted, and then
Right.
solidified it for the ones who knew, hey, maybe he should be playing in some capacity. So I say all that
Yeah.
to say, um, his injury. I mean, he was coming off playing 35, 41, like whatever minutes he was playing in those
Right.
5 game stretch that he played great. It was a lot of minutes. It was a back to
It
back in there,
was.
I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so maybe people are looking at, hey, if we monitor him right or manage him right, we could get him through. I mean, it is tough because I guess Boston tried that. Like, it's not like he wasn't doing that prior to.
But they had him in a bigger role, though. I think I agree with you. He could be a throw-in in a trade. I don't think his salary is prohibitive. I think he would be able to help a team. If you play him 20 minutes a game, you're not playing him on back-to-backs. I think he could, if he's a part of a trade, not centered around him, like you said. Yeah, I think he can help a team.
Just not us.
He can help us. He can help us too, but he would help us in the role Derrick Rose has, and we already have Rose there.
Mm. And you say that as a bench player, or could it be just the minute wise in the same capacity, the 20 minutes a game, and
Oh yeah. Oh,
20,
definitely.
20 or less maybe, because we're basing it off of his performance game by game.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, can the can the Kemba saga work?
It can. If we playing him 20 minutes or less, we're not playing him on back to backs. On the games he's out, we're starting quickly. We starting Burks. It can definitely help. But if we get a point guard in here, then that changes everything. But yeah, what if we don't make any changes? That's how it would have to be.
Because I think if we bring a point guard here, I think Rose or Kemba do have to go. One of the two.
Right.
I don't, and most likely it's Kemba, unless it's based off of value, and they're like, no, we want Rose, and if you're getting a starting caliber point guard, but again, then it goes back to what Tibbs said of I view Kemba as a starter in this league, and hence why if he's not starting for me, he's not playing for me. So can will Tibbs even allow Kemba to play a bench role on his team?
Not with Derrick Rose. Oh, you mean in general? I
That's what
mean,
I mean, that's what he said.
but
Remember,
I was thinking, I remember that. But did he say that only because he didn't want to play two small guards? Like if Rose was not
well,
on his
that was
team,
that
what
was
he
another that was another that was another rule. So I'm all right. Basically, he ruled out starting Rose. He said like, nope, that's not happening.
right,
Um, I don't want
right,
to. I don't want to. So like, if he would have, but he didn't say that. You know what I mean? He didn't say I don't want to start Rose. I'm saying he said that by his actions, because he said I don't want to play 3 guards, which means Rose, Kemba, and quickly.
right.
But if you start Rose and you bench Kemba and let Kemba run the point in the second unit, that there was, I don't see what the problem with that was.
Yeah,
You,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
and then the words that came out of his mouth is, I view Kemba as a starter in this league. Whether he was
But do you
talking,
think that was just coach speak though?
I mean,
For benching him. In other words, I don't want to bring him off the bench with Rose because that they're too small. But instead of saying that, I'm just going to say I view him as a starter, and if he's not starting, then this is why he's not
I'm
in the
if
rotation.
if that's the case, if I'm that player, I'm that's not acceptable to me. You view me as a starter, so because I'm not starting, like, so I have no say. You know what I mean? Like what in my
Yeah,
game says I can't play off the bench? Like that's because that's the way I'm looking at it. What
yeah.
like so. I had a real problem with that particular statement. What like whether it's you know coach talk or not, because me,
Hmm.
if I'm that player, then now I have to kind of figure out what you mean. All right, all right, you didn't want to say it to the media. Cool. Tell me so I so I understand.
Right, right. I mean, I think when he comes back, he could play 20 minutes, and Burke goes back to the second unit. Everybody goes back to their roles.
I hear you. Um, all right, we're gonna get into the speculatory part of the show, and we got RJ, we got Cam, and of course the rumors and the speculation is going crazy all over Knicks world about this is the gateway to bringing Zion here. I'm with you. I'm not a big fan of Zion, and I say that only based off the injury, only based off of him not being available to play. You know, from what I've seen of him on the court, absolute stud. I don't know if he's a face of the NBA yet, but he's that tier right under. I think he has the ability to be. But that injury is too scary for me as a Knicks fan. What turns you off about the potential of pursuing Zion in the next coming
Right.
years?
Aside from injury and weight problems, right? Zion is a guy who gets his shot by dominating everybody in the paint. He's not a guy that's going to hit a three. He's not a guy that's going to put the ball up between his legs or whatever you do and create a shot. He's not a guy that has a mid range. He's a guy that plays bully ball. Like that's how he gets his point. He's undersized,
Hmm.
right? So somebody like that in the playoffs, you just put a box around him and it's a wrap. So it's really about his game at this point. Now we haven't seen him. Maybe he's developed a three-point shot. Maybe he's developed a mid-range um, shot. But right now, this is somebody whose game is pretty much predicated around being underneath the basket. Now, he can bring the ball up. I've seen him do that. He has a high IQ. He has good court awareness in terms of moving the ball and just pretty much understanding the game.
Hmm.
But offensively, in my opinion, he's limited right
Mm.
now from what I seen last year. He could have added some stuff, right? He's been injured. And defensively, I don't think he's a good defensive player as well. And he's undersized.
Hmm.
And he has a weight problem. So I don't know if you remember like Oliver Miller and all of these guys with with
Michael
weight problems.
Sweetney.
Yeah, it's hard. You lose it. And if you lose focus a little bit, boom, you puff, you puff back up, So it's guys with weight problems.
Do you
I'm trying to think if there's anybody who had a weight problem who took it off and kept it off. The best thing for somebody with weight problems is to get traded to Miami.
mm,
They
mm,
they do a good job. There was
mm,
another guy too who had weight problems and went to Miami. Papa Jones.
mm.
Next thing you know, he was swelt and in shape. So that and the injury history because
Do
he has a
you
power game with a fragile body, at least up to this point.
do you attribute um damn, what was I gonna say? Do you attribute his weight issues to when he's not playing?
That's a good point.
Because I mean, even though people said he was overweight while playing, watching him, it didn't look like weight affected anything he did. You know what I mean? It was almost
Mhm.
astonishing some of the things he could do at his weight. But as far as physically looking like, oh man, he do got a weight problem, it was mostly when he wasn't playing, at least for me.
Mhm.
So, what are your thoughts on that?
I think he has a weight problem, period. But it. Yeah, I mean that's a fair point. Only when he's not playing does his weight go up. But even that's a concern. Even that's a concern. There's a certain. But he's not the only one. Look at in all fairness, Luca,
Hmm.
right? who
Chunky.
comes in and plays him way into shape like they used to do in the 80s and 90s. You know, he plays himself into shape. I don't know. I'm because of the injury history, because of the weight, and because, in my opinion, his game is limited offensively right now. He's a power guy, and in the playoffs, that's easy to stop. You put a few guys around him, it's a wrap. You know.
Back
So
back
I'm not a big fan.
backwards Gritty says Zion wants to play here. He'll be in shape.
He'll
He
be in
says
shape,
bet
but
money.
even because of his body type, I think he'll always be at risk for injuries.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. I mean I agree. I agree. Any concern that there's truth to this though, and this is something that the organization, and I would say the the upper management part of the organization has their eyes on.
It's possible, but I don't think you have to go get Cam Reddish to get Zion. You can sign him in free agency. Well, actually, no. You can do a sign and trade, right? Because we don't have the money. If he says he's not going to sign there, they're going to look to move him. If he says he wants to go to New York, New York has the assets to get it done, right? Um, so I can't say that's what the Knicks are angling for, but if they wanted to do it, we definitely have the assets to get it done.
That's the scary part about it. Like, because I don't want it to happen either, but it feels like I'm trying to ignore it, but it feels like it's all aligned. You know what I mean? Like they're in position, like you said. If he requests it, they can make it happen. It's not a question
Hmm.
of do they have the assets or
Right.
how are they going to pull it off. It's so that's the scary thing about it. Um, man, I hope it's not true. I hope that's not the direction. A lot of fans really do. They was trade Randall and whomever for Zion in the heartbeat.
Right.
And
What
I mean,
percentage of games has he played though? Every time you turn around, this guy is injured.
yeah. And our luck as Knicks fans, I don't know. Like that McDyess situation, that scarred me. This Knicks and bruises. So every now and again, we gonna talk about some of these horror stories that bruised us
Yeah.
over the years. But I can't
And
I
you know
can't
what?
deal with that.
Some of the younger people may not realize, but if you've watched the Knicks for a few decades, we had a history of trading for injury prone players who continued when they got here.
Yes.
you know, Amari,
Yeah.
um,
And you
McDyess.
and you know what's
It's a
crazy?
few of them.
McDyess out of all of them, and maybe Stoudemire, but not even Stoudemire. McDyess was probably the most rational one because he was still young. You know what I
Right.
mean? And there was no, there was real thoughts that he could come back from the injury, and then
Hmm.
got injured again like a couple of days after signing or whatever the case. And
Yeah.
and even with him, if you look at his career as it went on after the Knicks, he was still a serviceable big for years. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like he didn't have the
Hmm.
athleticism that he had as a youngster, but he was an adequate big man. It was like if we could have even got that production from him, it wouldn't have been as bad. You know what I mean? So it was really
Yeah.
just the
Yeah.
luck of the Knicks. Oh man, I hate when I bring these things up because I start feeling it
Painful.
on the
Painful.
inside.
Oh God.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean I guess we're in agreement on that for sure. I hope that's not the direction we're going, even though it seems very plausible.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Tibbs is the main reason that I think if he has any say in the organization, which I hope that speculation is not true, that they're at odds and they do things to spite him or
Mhm.
whether he approves it or not. I hope that's not the
Mhm.
case. I hope they are
Yeah,
on the same page. I believe they are. I think people are just trying to throw things out there and see what
I
sticks.
believe so too. And it would be interesting to see how the new coach, who is that? Green, right? What's the guy who used to play for Philadelphia plays him. No, where's yeah, how he plays him because the Van Gundy had him playing point forward. Like it was just so hard to find a spot for him, that he felt to get the best out of him, he had to, play him pretty much point forward. That way you can get the alley oops, the dunks, and all of that around the basket stuff, and then also his playmaking. Because other than that, there wasn't much, that he was doing. So it'd be interesting to see how his game has grown and how Green is going to use him.
Um, is there any concern with Noel right now? I mean, I
Yes.
mean, I feel like I know he's always had the injury history. He had that label of being prone, but I feel like this year we haven't seen him. Like it was like from the beginning of the year to now. It's like how many games he's played? 10,
I
maybe
would be right.
16.
I would be surprised. Yeah, I'll be surprised if it's that many. And then he came back, and then now he's out. It's like, what happened?
So any concerns with that?
There is concerns with that. I think if he's healthy, he is serviceable. He's a solid center, solid backup center, but he hasn't been, and it's going to be hard to trade him as well, given his injury. Who's going to take him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like because I felt like this last year. Sometimes I feel like players be faking injuries around the trade around the
Around
trade
the
time.
trade deadline.
So they be like, yeah, nah, I know how to keep me here. I'm gonna just fake this
Right,
injury.
right.
Ain't nobody gonna want me, and then I just come back and give it my all. But I think let me just see if I had any other things on my list. 'Cause I think I'm gonna keep it short today. It's been a long day.
I mean,
Yeah,
if we have time to talk about Mitch too, I know we've talked about him before, but just in light of how he's playing, um, well, I already know your answer. We've
you
talked.
already know my answer. You already know my like. I mean, I'm all for getting better. I am. I am.
Right, right.
So if we talking trade, give me the player and the situation, and I'll be honest, but it's tough for me to pick somebody over Mitch right now because I'm really for
Yeah. Now
extending
this
him.
is the thing. So I would like a stretch five too, right? And I was willing to trade Mitch for a stretch five. At that time, Mitch was averaging, not averaging, but on any given night, you're getting around 8 points, 6 rebounds, 7 rebounds, maybe a block. I'm like, all right. I mean, what? Lately, with those double doubles, like I feel like if we're gonna keep Mitch, you need to be elite. If you and that's for any player. If you're limited in the area, then what you do, you need
Has
to
to be
do
the
that at
best.
a high level. Right? You look at Rudy Gobert, he's not a good offensive player, but what he does do, he does it at a high level. So if you're going to be Mitch and you're not going to score and you don't have a jump shot and you're not going to do any of that and you're not rebounding and blocking shots at a high level, I can't pay for that.
Hmm.
But it seems like, he's lost some weight. His the injury, he's putting the injury behind him, so he's in shape. And now you can see, and I've said this, in it's so many shows, they just run together. Like you don't even know what you said where. But his rebounding, he's rebounding in traffic. It's not like a
Yep.
rebound comes
Yep.
to you and you get it, No,
It's
he's snatching the rebounds. He's
it's
in traffic. People around him, he getting the rebound. That's what I'm talking about,
yep.
Mitch.
It's effort that you see. What I was gonna say is it felt like when he gained the weight, he didn't know how to use it.
Right,
He didn't know how to maneuver with it.
right,
It feels like he lost weight now, but he still has strength. Like
right.
almost like he didn't lose strength from when he
Yeah.
gained the weight. They was
Mm-hmm.
calling him flex. He was enjoying the muscle. It feels like he still has that, but he's learning how to use it, how to play with it. So everything he does is kind of strong now. He's going back
Right.
up strong every time. He's going for that rebound strong. You seeing him tap it a few times now
Mm-hmm.
and get it. You didn't see that before. It was
Right.
like he would tap it and then somebody else would tap it the other way. No,
Right, right,
he's
right,
like, no, I'm tapping it to myself where you can't
right.
get it. I agree. I agree.
And he's dunking. He reminds me of a young Shaq. That's what Shaq
Mm-hmm.
used to do.
Mm-hmm.
Every rebound and putback, he was trying to take the rim down.
You seen the
And
one he got today? The one hand?
yeah, yeah,
Woo.
that's what he's doing now. He's like, I'm dunking everything. And the thing about it is, you could be slender and still be strong. So he doesn't
Wiry.
necessarily have to be wiry
Wiry.
strong. You think about Kevin Garnett, right? Kevin Garnett was wiry strong. So, he could be strong. And that move, shout out to Dripmore when Mitch made that move to the basket today. Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
I was on this couch right here screaming. Screaming. Yo, y'all see that? Y'all see that? My man Mitch. Ah. I know my neighbors is
I
like,
mean,
what is he talking about?
and you know what? I wonder if he's being motivated by the trade deadline. Like the opposite way. Like
Mm,
I'm gonna play myself so that they can see how valuable I am and decide to keep me and sign me because he's doing it pretty consistently. Today wasn't a good. I would have liked to have seen a little
mm-hmm,
more today, especially against Plumlee, who's a little thick, taller person to just kind of get rid of that narrative
mm-hmm.
that he's only having these games against centers that are short or centers that aren't that great. You know,
I
um,
I think tonight
go ahead.
they really focused Charlotte on boxing out, and the Knicks did not. And I
Right,
think that's what, like, not even blaming Mitch, because I
right.
think the Knicks as a whole weren't boxing out, which kind of left him to kind of do whatever he could. But so many times we tap the ball and it ends up going out of bounds instead of just securing that rebound. But
Right. They were
yeah,
focusing in on him as
hmm
well. And I think
tonight.
you're right. Because they did say during the telecast that the coach said, I haven't practiced boxing out with a team as much as I did this week.
Hmm.
And I think that's probably what happened. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But what was your initial question about Mitch? Because you
I mean,
never
I mean,
we
yeah,
kind of started praising him. I know
right,
you had
right,
a
right. It,
question.
it was about resigning them, and I
Reconsider.
already know
Okay.
your answer to that. For me, I was ready to let Mitch go because I just feel like over 4 years, I haven't seen a lot of development. And then when you did see it, he would get injured. It's been a lot of injuries throughout his history, his time here. I was ready to let him go. I'm happy that the Knicks can sign him through the end of the season, right?
Hmm.
So we can get to see him for a longer stretch of time just to make sure this is not just one of them good patches. You know what I mean? I really want to see him for an extended period of time. Um, and if he continues to do what he's doing, I would sign him. If
Any.
you can, like Capella, every night, double, double, two blocks.
Hmm.
And I'm not talking about 10-10. No, 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 no. I'm talking, I need a 14-12.
might
You know what I mean?
might be a 19,
Right. A
11,
19,
19.
11. Yeah, I need those type. The offensive part is up to the other team to get him involved. And RJ has been doing that. And that's been helping his game. But there's so many opportunities for Mitch, not just from RJ, from so many of the
Hmm.
players that miss him.
Hmm.
And
And
you
and
think about, go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing. I was gonna say I think that was part of his limitations tonight. I don't think he was looked for as much, from his teammates, and then the focus on him kind of took away that offensive rebound putback. He had the one, but as of recently, he was getting 3, 4 of those a game.
Yeah, they missed him a lot. They missed him a lot this game. His hands is better because for a little while he was starting to look like Mr. 50-50. I'm like, come on, Mitch, now you can't catch the ball. But lately, the other game, the ball just touched his fingertips and he reeled it in and dunked it. I said,
Mm-hmm.
wow, wow. So if he continues to play like this, oh, the point I was trying to make is Trey Young and Capella, you know, if you got somebody who could play that pick and roll, you got somebody back there like Capella, you forcing, you got to have that point guard though. You're forcing that, you put the defense in a conundrum. What are you going to do? Who are you guarding? Because if you take away Trey, Capella is there.
Mm-hmm.
Mitch can provide the same thing for us, but we got to have that. We got to have that point guard.
I agree, but Mitch is
Yeah.
showing me a lot. I got two questions.
Mm-hmm.
One, the move he did today, like how encouraging is it as just something that we know he's capable of now. You know what I mean? Like that was about from the foul line at the least. You know what I mean? It may be a
Yeah.
little
Mm-hmm.
behind the foul line. Like that was a nice, solid couple dribbles, a little
Mm-hmm.
euro.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And finish with a dunk. I loved it. A couple games back, we see him get a steal, throw the ball around his back, take a couple dribbles, and
Mm-hmm.
and do an outlet pass. And then last game, we even see him on a cut to the basket, straight down the middle with a handoff pass from Randall,
Mm-hmm.
and one dribble and finish. I think we're seeing a lot more from him.
We
A
are.
lot of these turnovers too, or these bad hand situations, weren't passes that were thrown up, but passes that were the waist and below. So
Right.
I think he's adjusting to those passes as well, because
Mm-hmm.
there must be something that they see in practice, because they're attempting these passes with him now, which were
Right.
never the case.
Right.
Bounce passes down low and other things off of off of not necessarily transition, but off of drives to the basket.
Right. Yeah. I mean, for him to make that move, that's telling me that his confidence is sky high. His confidence is sky high. And that somewhere along the line, something has clicked with him. And he said, I'm about to unleash my whole. He might hit a three. He might shoot a three.
You know what I think it is?
What is that?
I think he watched Obi.
Mm.
I think he watched Obi and said, "Oh, he's not afraid." You know what I mean? Like, oh, because Obi's been doing that as of late, every now and again. Like, we want
Mm-hmm.
more from him, obviously. But
Mm-hmm.
once I seen that from Obi, that was an eye opener as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's more expected from Obi, obviously, but he seemed to be scared to try to do something
Right.
other than run the particular play.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think he's seen it from Obi. We've seen it from Obi a couple times, and he was like, "All right, when I get my opportunity, I'm gonna unleash some of these things. I just got to make sure I finish."
Right. Yeah.
Eh, eh,
Yeah. If we get some of that, I think if they throw it down, because sometimes he does go in the post, if he, especially if he got a smaller guy on him, he will in transition duck right in and have his guy pinned and ask for the ball. He's done it a few times this season, and they don't see him.
Nah,
They don't. If
always
he does that and turn around and dunk it, sign him on the spot. On the
do.
spot.
Yeah, Rich is my guy. I don't necessarily want to include him in the trade either, just because the same.
Yeah.
It's crazy. The same arguments that I think a lot of people gave me last year when I was defending Mitch, that he's just the runner, and he's just a lob threat. I see that more with Obi than I do with Mitch, and then Mitch is still, in my opinion, elite or trending towards elite defender. You know what I mean? Where Obi doesn't necessarily have that, and I'm not pitting them against each other. I'm just making the
Right.
comparison in which that's why
Hmm.
I have a lot more value for Mitch because he still has that defensive potential as
Right.
well.
Right. Right.
So, and I think
Yeah.
he's younger too, right?
Everybody's younger.
Oh man.
Everybody's younger than Obi except Tibbs. No, I'm kidding.
They're gonna call us the Obi haters. I want Obi to
No,
work
I'm kidding.
out, but
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think Obi will be a better offensive player than Mitch as time goes on. You can see those flashes in his game. Um, but Mitch can be an elite defender if he focuses in, which it seemed like he's doing. He's taking no prisoners. He's dunked before, but not like this. This is a little different. He's rebounded before, but not like this. This is a little different. Um,
you know how Kawhi would say what he say, board man gets paid every time he
mhm,
grab the rebound. I
mhm.
bet Mitch is saying, give me a contract every time he dunk. Like that's what it that's what it feel
Yeah,
like.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And he that today when he made the pass and transition to Fournier, who missed the dunk, but that Mitch even saw him and made that pass down court. That was
Hmm.
almost like a full court, pass. So you could just see his game growing, and that's encouraging. So I'm glad that this is happening with like 38 games because I want to see RJ more. Can
Hmm.
RJ keep this up? Can Mitch keep this up? Not that they won't have a bad game here and there. Everybody does. But for the most part, if they can keep this up, that bodes well for the Knicks.
And I'm becoming more and more sold on Grimes
Oh,
every game.
yep.
Like everything was borderline with me with Grimes. Like I seen
Hmm.
potential, but I
Hmm.
thought he was a ways away. But I knew he had potential. But when I'm watching him, and like he has the same, he don't hesitate on his shot that quickly has. It's just not 5 and 10 feet away from the basket. It's just mostly off of a catch and shoot. You know what I mean? Like I, he has great potential to at the very least 3 and D.
At the very least, 3 and D. I've seen him take a few shots off the dribble. He didn't really hit them. He can work on that in the off season. Got to remember, Grimes comes from a good high school pedigree as well. You know, he was one of the top 8 in the country. That same draft with Cam, it was RJ, Cam,
Mm,
and Grimes was ranked top 8 in the country.
mm.
He went to Kansas. It didn't work out. Everybody knows the story. Then he transferred into Houston, got better, and now he's with the Knicks. But that pedigree is there. That pedigree is there. So um, he's a keeper. He's a
Yes,
keeper. He's one of
yes.
them guys that it would take a lot. I hope it would take a lot for the Knicks to where they standing up all night, be like, wow, we really want this guy, but they want Grimes, you know? Um, I
It
think he's
tells
one
you
of
a
those
lot too.
guys.
It tells you a lot that they weren't willing to include him in the trade. Where where at the very least, had you included him in the trade, you knew where some of the minutes for the guy you bringing in is coming
Right.
from.
Right.
They said nope. We'll deal with the dilemma and figure it out
Figure it out. Right. Right.
rather than give you Grimes. So
Yeah.
I think that means a whole lot. It means a lot for Cam and it means a whole lot for Grimes. Like
Yeah.
it tells me that they 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 see something in Grimes and the fact that they still, you know, were persistent and made the trade, they see something in Cam as well.
Definitely. And I think he's earned Tibbs' trust. He's earned Tibbs' trust. And once you earn Tibbs' trust, you got a friend for life. You know, you got a friend for life. You know,
He said, I might bring you anywhere I go. You
right,
know?
right, right. He's earned his trust, so that means in practice he's bussing it. You know, in practice he is doing his thing. Because remember, what happened? Was it COVID or whatever? And we said, "Oh wow, this opens up time for Grimes." He wasn't even. He didn't even. Still didn't play him.
Hmm.
He went to a 9-man rotation. I'm like, wow. Then a little by little, a few minutes here, a few minutes there, and then now, boom, he's carved out some minutes for himself.
Do you think the success of one rookie or young player, but I'm gonna say rookie, do you think that lessens the chance for one of the other rookies to kind of get their opportunity? Like, you know what I mean? Is it like there can only be one,
Right,
you
right.
know, at a time?
I don't think so. I think it's crowded right now with young people, and I just think there's no place to play him. You know, um, yeah, I think it's more that. Um, And for McBride, I don't know whether you was talking. I'm thinking about McBride. I just don't think McBride is ready.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I
Right.
like the fact that he
Mhm.
gets heavy minutes in the G League, and
Right.
he still gets his garbage time minutes or
Right.
opportunity minutes if two three guards are out. But I don't think he's you know starting or necessarily a heavy rotation material yet.
Right. Right.
Sims, on the other hand,
Mhm.
sometimes I be wondering, like I know why, because Taj is his guy, just like Rose is his guy,
Mhm. Mhm.
just like
Mhm.
Grimes is his guy right now. But sometimes even with Taj, it's nothing against Taj. I think sometimes Taj gets overloaded, like with work. You know what I mean? Like I think
Mhm.
Taj is a 10, 15 max minute
Max, but
a
that's all he
guy,
plays, though, right?
but every now and again he'll get
Mhm.
those extended minutes, and Sims hasn't been used as often as early
Right.
in the season when
Right.
the opportunity, so I'm wondering if maybe Tibbs sees something in Sims similar to the Obi thing, where it's like, yo, it's maybe it's the same thing that I keep telling you, that you not, you know what I mean, like.
I just think it's crowded. I I just think he's not gonna play him over Taj. I mean, Taj is better than him right now. Um, you know,
Let me
but
say this: if
Mhm.
there was a guy that I think needed minutes to progress, it would be Sims. I think he'll learn more on
Mhm.
the floor, and I'm not a big proponent of that. I'm big on, hey, these guys are learning in the roles that they're getting of
Right.
stay ready and this,
Right.
but I think he's one guy that I think would learn more just being on the floor with these guys than necessarily taking the opportunity when given. And it's not a
Yeah.
push for him to play or not. I
Right.
think
Right.
he's still gonna wait his turn.
He will. Yeah. I don't know if Sims is ready either. But I tell
Mentally,
you
no.
what, I would
He,
like to see him in the G League more. I think he went down one game. I would like to see him in the G League more.
I agree with that. I agree with
Yeah.
that, because reps is what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether it's on this team or not, I
Right.
think he needs the reps, because I think physically he's talented enough to just make way with just or physical talent. So for
Right.
him to develop more is going to be through playing and learning.
Right. I forgot all about Sims. When you talk about the Knicks' young talent, if any disgruntled All Star comes up, the Knicks can outbid anybody. we got that good mix of young players, vets on decent contracts. So if you trade for them, you don't have to hold them for too long.
Hmm.
Young players, draft capital. If anybody shake loose, I think the Knicks can outbid pretty much anybody.
Is there anybody you would stare away from?
Um, a disgruntled All Star that I would stay away from.
Obviously, I think Ben Simmons. I think you've made it clear that you're not a big
I'm
fan
not
of
a.
him.
I'm not a
Just
bit. Let me
more
tell you
so because
something.
he's not proven, or
No, more
proven
so
without.
because he's not willing to shoot. If you told me that there's a new and improved Ben Simmons who is willing to shoot, he may not even shoot it at a high clip,
Hmm.
but he's willing to shoot. I like him. I like him. But my issue with Ben Simmons is that up to this point, and with all of this may have changed because when you see his videos, he can shoot. He has good
Hmm.
form and what
Hmm.
have you. And maybe through all of this, he's gotten it into his head. I'm gonna have to shoot to keep the defense honest. Whether I make it or I don't make it, I need to do that. If he's willing to do that, he's a heck of a player. Don't get me wrong. But just somebody who's not going to shoot at all and just going to play defense and pass the ball, that's too limited for me for his position.
Let, all right, real quick, let me shout out Spreewell because
Mm-hmm.
my guy Spree appreciate you. He says, "Will Cam get 20 to 25 minutes? I don't think he will initially. I think for him to get that, he's gonna have to earn it. I think he'll get an opportunity to earn it, but he's not. It's not gonna be given to him. So that would be my response to that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what were we just talking about prior to? Because I read that and
We was talking about Ben, and I had a question for
okay.
you because it came up on the Queen's Court about trading Randall for Ben Simmons, and so now Ben Simmons is your best player. Do you think that's a making of a playoff team?
To be 100% honest, I do and I do it.
Wow.
I like Randall, but when I say I'm only trading him for someone who's better, even if even if you can argue that Ben Simmons is not better, you have to say they're on the same level. You're not going to argue with me that Randall's better than Ben Simmons, right? So they're at least equal. Here's the thing: do we have the shooters to surround Ben Simmons with? Because I think even with his not shooting the ball, and I think that would change. But let's say it didn't, and he doesn't shoot the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I think it can still work as far as getting you to the playoffs and you being a playoff team. I don't know if championship is a
No,
ceiling.
no, no, no,
You,
not
you know what I
championship.
mean? But as far as like
Right, right.
and
Mhm.
he just moves the ball. You know what I mean? Again, this is no knock on Randall. I'm one of the people that they call the Randall supporters or Randall Hive or whatever. But I'm also honest. He's not the defender Ben is, so
No,
that's a plus. He's not the facilitator Ben is, even
right,
though he's a good or great facilitator.
right. I agree with that.
And then he can equal the points that Randall will give you. And when I say Randall, I mean
Mhm.
last year Randall. He'll give you those same 25 without shooting.
Nah, Tony.
You don't think Ben
Because
could
no,
score? I
because you got
think.
to think about it. You got to think about it. It's easy to get those opportunities when you playing off of somebody like Embiid.
Mm-hmm,
You understand what I
mm-hmm.
mean? So we talking about he's not going to take any jump shots. He's not going to have anybody that's drawing the defense. You're going to be able to load up on him as your best play, and he's gonna get you 25 without a jump shot. That's gonna be hard in this
I'm
league.
all
But
right. All right.
I'm not
Let
gonna
me. Let me. He
argue that
won't.
he's
He
that
won't
Randall is
average it,
better.
but he can.
Mm,
He won't average it. He'll probably still average about 17, 18 without a jump shot. And he's a poor free
With
throw
a
shooter.
jump shot, it's not even a question. Let's put it that way, because I'm not a Ben Simmons hater. Without a jump shot, it's not even with a jump shot, excuse me. It's not even a question, right? This guy can defend, he can play make, he has good he understands the game, he has a good feel for the game, but it's hard for me to compare guys who have never been in that position of,
Mm-hmm.
of being a number one. Like we talk about, and shout out to Andy. A lot of people want to say that Sabonis is better than Randall, and he might be. The thing about it is that it's hard for me to compare guys who are in different roles.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You put Randall in Sabonis' role, and I'm not trying to change the subject. I'll bring it back around to Ben Simmons. You put Randall and Ben Simmons in Sabonis' role, where all he has to do is rebound and shoot. You don't have to be the best player. We don't have to run anything through you. All you got to do is shoot and rebound. Randall's going to be efficient as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you take Sabonis and put him on this team without a point guard, without a stretch five, and we need you to get buckets for us. We're gonna come to you down the stretch. We need how do we know Sabonis can function in that role? And that's the same thing I'm saying about Ben Simmons. He might be able to, but I'm not sold on it, and it's not a chance I'm willing to make for somebody who can't shoot. That's all
Ben,
I'm saying.
all
Or,
right,
or hit free throws.
you're right, but Ben Simmons here wouldn't be. It wouldn't be a swap of roles. And to your point, even Randall going to Philadelphia, it wouldn't be a swap. Well, I mean, it kind of wouldn't be. He wouldn't be going into the same role that he's leaving. So
Right,
so,
right. So that'll be good for Randall.
but I also believe Ben won't be in the role of Randall as far as getting buckets. He won't be asked to do that. He'll literally be asked to defer and be
To who? If Randall is not here, who's he deferring to?
RJ and
He's better than Art. This is the thing. He's made $30 million, Tony. Can you bring somebody in who's taking up that much of your cap space and he can't shoot? Or he's not shooting. That's the point I'm making. So now you're not shooting. Now we got to bring in shooters, but we can't really bring in top end shooters because you're making $30 million. That's the only.
I think, but I think you can bring in shooters. And I think if RJ continues to progress, I think Burks playing off of Ben Simmons. I think Fournier playing off of Ben Simmons. I think Quickly playing off of Ben Simmons. I think we have the shooters. I think we have them. It, I don't think he's gonna be a go-to scorer, but I think he's gonna score within the flow of the offense.
He is. I mean, listen, I'm not
And
hating on Ben Simmons.
the growth will come from him facilitating and guys getting open shots. Now, granted, I'm not a I'm not a propose. I don't necessarily want us to pursue this,
Mhm.
but I think there's an argument that could be made that one Simmons is better or at least just as good as Randall, and then Younger still has the upside projection. Now, granted, he has to shoot the ball for him to become the best of who he
No
can
doubt.
be.
No doubt. That's my only thing. A shooting Ben Simmons is a is on another level. It's not
E-
even a question as far
Even
as
if he's
Randall's concerned.
shooting
Mhm.
Peyton percentages, you know what I mean? Like, I I,
But this
I,
is the thing.
I agree.
You're still gonna need that big down low. You still because he's not those $30 million guys can put the ball in the basket other than driving. He can put the ball in the basket in terms of driving to the hoop. He can put the ball in the basket, I guess, in terms of posting.
Hmm.
But those $30 million guys, those Durants, those Hardens, those Kyrie Irvins, those Paul Georges, you can isolate them and they're gonna get a bucket. I don't know if we can do that with Ben.
And here's the thing too. Now it's double sided. If he's getting double team, I think that plays to his favor because he knows how to get the ball out of his hands where to get the ball out to. I think that the on the flip side, now if they kind of just dare him to shoot and keep him out the paint,
Right.
that is where it kind of becomes, you know what I mean? It
I
kind of
wouldn't double
becomes,
team him.
yeah. That
I wouldn't double
again.
team him.
So now he got to rely. Now you're not double teaming him. Can you keep him out the paint without double teaming him? You know what I mean? Like, and that's how he gets his points. It's
Yeah, but I don't
it,
know if he's that guy where you can just like with Giannis.
yeah. I
You
was
know,
gonna
they
say
they
that.
build they build that they build that wall.
You
And
know.
listen, Giannis didn't, and their team didn't really take off until
Mm-hmm,
he at least
mm-hmm.
started to. He not shooting it at even a high percentage, but he
And
started taking those threes. Now you got to respect them.
that's
That's
where I
all
was.
I'm saying for
But
Ben
that
Simmons.
but
That's
that's
all
where
I'm saying.
that's where I was going. It
Okay.
took it took it took. Now, granted, Giannis would shoot obviously more than Ben Simmons, but he was the closest thing to that. You know what I mean? That what we see with Ben Simmons.
Right.
Ben
Can I
Simmons
highlight
had
a comment?
absolutely,
Is okay. Okay.
yeah. But Ben Simmons hasn't dealt with that yet to be able to say, "Oh man, I gotta shoot," even if I don't. You know what I mean? He hasn't dealt with it to the effect of everything is lined up to keep me from not taking a shot or keep to make me take a shot. So I think he's learned from it. To be honest,
If he has, then it's a wrap. It's a wrap. That's my only. If he's shooting the basketball, it's a wrap. Now, shout out to Kevin Bergen. I know we can't do that with Ben Simmons. What is his move in the end of the game? He can't won't shoot, and if you foul him, he can't hit free throws. That's you can't have your best player. Listen, if he was making 20 million, 19 million,
mm-hmm.
48 money, he making 30 million. That means there's certain of the things we're not going to be able to do because you're taking up this much of our salary cap. Now, the salary cap is going up in a few years, so what he would take would be lower. My whole thing is if he's shooting, it's not even a question. If he's shooting, it's not even a question. I'm talking about the playoff Ben Simmons.
Mm-hmm.
That's that's what's in my head right
Let
now.
me all right. Let me ask you this. Let me
Mhm.
ask you this. This is going to be a. What if he was a center?
Oh, yes, but even
Because
at center,
if he played if he was 2 inches taller and they said, hey, he's a center, I don't think they would have this argument for him. You know what I mean?
right? But Tony, you're right. We wouldn't have this argument if he was
But he
playing center
probably
because
still wouldn't be getting 30 million.
he wouldn't be getting 30 million. But there isn't this expectation then because the position that he's playing and he can't shoot, it changes everything in terms of what you're doing offensively and what you can't do offensively, in my opinion. If he's playing the center, it's a wrap. We don't even have to worry about him shooting because he could post up, he can rebound, he could defend, he could switch those pick and rolls. So if he played center, he would be great, you know. Um, but again, if he's shooting, my argument is dead in the water. If he's shooting, my argument is dead in the water. Yeah. And I
Re,
think when
re,
Josh,
re,
shout out to Josh, when Josh thinks of Ben Simmons, he thinks about the Ben Simmons before Philly was in the playoffs with a jump shot. That's when he's talking about him. And if and that Ben Simmons is a monster. When I think about Ben Simmons, I think of playoff Ben Simmons who wouldn't shoot the ball and couldn't hit free throws and was unplayable because of that.
mm,
And I think that's
mm.
probably why whenever we talk about Ben Simmons, I go right to the playoffs.
I think it's unfair to judge him off of that
That's a good point.
one
That's a fair
series.
point.
You know
That's
what
a
I
fair
mean?
point.
Like if people were just gonna judge Randall off of his one playoff series, like is that necessarily fair? You know what I mean? Granted, he
That's a fair
shot the
point.
ball, but it was horribly.
That's a
So
fair point.
so I mean again, and I'm not champion for this move,
Right.
but if we did it, and Randall was the focal point, and you know what I mean, and it didn't cost much more, I wouldn't be mad at it either. You know what I mean? Because I think we could make it work, and I expect him to have adjusted in some form of way.
If he has, it's a wrap.
So
It's a wrap because
I,
this guy is talented. But
he is, and you talk about defensive player of the year potential.
no doubt about it.
You know what I mean? So that like
Yeah,
that's something that you got to weigh the good and the bad,
yeah,
and
yeah.
see which one's heavier. What you got there?
We would need a lot. The pick and roll would be flawless. This is for Sanga Waldron. The pick and roll would be flawless with Mitchell on the floor. We can roll and crash the boards a spotter. No doubt about it. But Mitch is not as good as Embiid. And maybe this was just part of their growth, but it wasn't good enough with Embiid. I don't think it's gonna be good enough with Mitch. We would
Yeah,
definitely need to build,
and at the very
put more
least,
around that.
Embiid had the ability to stretch the floor, so take a big away from the paint, which opened things up for Ben to get all the way to the basket. You know what I mean? So I mean, I it's not like I don't see the flaws. I definitely do. I do think. I mean, for him to just make it anywhere, not just the Knicks or whatever, he's gonna have to shoot the ball. He could shoot 20%. You know what I mean? But he's gonna have to shoot the ball and be a threat. So I
Yeah,
agree. Any
yeah.
other wild
And he
crazy?
and his free throws has to, because if he's gonna command that amount of attention, you're gonna go to the line. It's just he
Mm-hmm.
just creates a lot of uh, in terms of the like when you talk about individual talent, I could see getting excited. But then when you talk about how it's actually gonna work in the flow of an offense and trying to win a game, it creates some issues in terms of him being your best player down the line, him having to get you a bucket. He can't be your best player if he can't shoot. If you can't get a bucket, how can he be your best player? And then you can't foul him. He can't go to the line and seal the game for you. So, I mean, if those things have improved, bring them on. But if not, nah, I wouldn't do it. But something else outlandish out there. Hmm,
Obviously, John Wall. I'm not really with that either. Um,
no.
Unless they're obviously taking Kemba up automatically, that would have to be the case. And Fournier, and I still wouldn't necessarily want it, but Nick ties and CAA ties and all that, Kentucky ties or whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'd sway away from that.
Yeah, I would sway away from that too. Um,
What if it came with a pick though? What if it came with a first round pick, where that was something that
we got so
I
many picks.
I know. Obviously, when I say picks, I don't say that to say who we're drafting. I say that as asset to entice another move,
Okay.
similar to like what they're saying the Hawks did with getting our pick.
Yeah. If he had 1 year left, but I think he has what, two? I think he has 2 years
Two
left.
two after this year or two including this year.
I think it might
I think next year is the last year.
I think it's including this year.
Yeah.
So next year he would be an expiring, but you're not gonna be able to trade. I don't think you're gonna be able to
No, but that's a lot of cap space. That's a lot of cap space coming off the books.
yeah. And
But
the thing
yeah,
about John Wall, when he played last year,
he looked good.
he looked good. I mean, he wasn't very efficient, but he looked good. And I don't think he got injured last year. I think they were cautious. I don't think he played on back to backs, but he looked good. He looked
So
good.
I think it was back when Giddy said he'd take Ben over Wall. Would you, if you had to choose between Ben and Wall
If
at
I
this point?
had to choose,
Yeah, but
I would take Ben.
okay.
If I had to choose.
Now
Um
the funny thing is the Ben trade we talked about that would be including Randall.
right.
The Wall trade probably wouldn't. that's still you still choosing the Ben trade.
I can't even see Ben and Randall playing together. Brick City right now. The way
But well, that's I get that saying. So the Ben trade would include Randall. So
okay,
Randall wouldn't be here. Ben would,
okay,
but
right.
the Wall trade wouldn't include Randall. So Walt would be playing with Randall. So my question is, you still choosing the Ben trade?
No, Ben by himself or Wall with Randall. I would go Wall with Randall.
Okay.
44 million is a lot of money though. But Wall can play. He can still
I
play. Wall can still play. This is a money issue. Um, this I seen him. I watched him play in Houston a lot last year. He still got it. You know.
My biggest concern would be the time off. Honestly, like some people would say that's
Yeah.
good, but
Yeah.
I think he's had more than enough time off over. You know what I mean? Over
Right.
over
Right.
the
He should
past
be
couple
fresh.
of years. My
Right.
concern is actually playing and then having the time off, and like
Right.
that's not like your body has to get used to playing 82 or as many as your body will allow you.
Right.
So I think playing not playing is actually more detrimental to his health than playing at
Then
this point,
playing. That's a good
in
point.
my opinion.
Hmm. Hmm. I'm trying to think who I was really high on Jeremy Grant for a minute, and then I forgot what show we was on, and they started talking about Jeremy Grant not being a great playing the three and not being a great shooter. Then you got Randall at the four, not being a great shooter, and it is like, all right, defensively we'll be locked down, but offensively it'll be Brick City, you know. So then that kind of, you know, dashed my enthusiasm for Jeremy Grant.
And it's tough with the lockdown shooters because even some of the lockdown shooters, they'll have a bad year. They'll be like, oh, he shot 42% last year, but he's shooting 33 this year. You know what I mean? And you'd be like, that can happen to anybody. I would think, right?
Hmm.
So how much do you pay for a shooter? Because I know you said that's one of the things you think we need.
I think we have shooters, but they inconsistent. Like I need people where like it whenever they release it, you feel like it's going in.
That's how I feel with Grimes right now.
That's how I feel with Grimes too. That's how I
like
feel with
like
Grimes.
and I feel like that's what they told him. Like that's all you keep hearing. They like, yo,
Right,
let it fly. Only
right.
time I'm gonna yell at him is if he turned down a shot. Like he needs to shoot the ball. Like so, they obviously telling him that, and
Hmm.
he running with it. Like oh, I got the green light.
Yeah,
Is and it's always a good shot. Like it's
yeah.
something about that. Like, and I was defending quickly early when people was like, oh, he takes bad shots. I'm like, he makes them though.
Mhm. Right,
It's it look different when it's a good shot all the time. You know what
right.
I mean? Oh,
Yeah, they
I
said
can't think
Atlanta
of any
just
other
beat
trade.
Milwaukee. Yeah. I know the Lakers, there's some thoughts that the Lakers may be wanting to get rid of Russ. I think Russ is too old at this point right now. Um, Dame is injured. Trying to think who else is out there. KP, I don't think would be welcome back in New York.
Mm.
Um, who else that they've been talking about? Schroeder. Um, that Boston may be trying to get rid of Schroeder because they know their chances of signing him in the offseason is very low. I think because of some cap stipulations. And so they would like to get something for him now. But would they trade him to the Knicks in their division?
And would they want Kemba back? Because that's the only way it's going down. like, like if they want Kemba back,
Right.
um, how high are you on Brunson? You're one of the ones that are high on
I'm
him.
I'm high on him because this is the thing. I'm high on him for the role he's gonna play. He's not a dynamic guard. He's not in the mold of a John Wall, Russell Westbrook, Dame Lillard. He's not that type of guy. He's more in the mold of Kyle Lowry, Van Vliet, um, Brogdon. more like a solid point guard. So those other point guards could be your best player at the point guard position. He's not that. You're going to have to go out and get your best player, your that dynamic player at another position. He's just going to be solid. He's going to defend the position. He's going to hit the three. He's going to play make, and he's going to organize the team, and he's going to do that at a solid level with game in and game out. You know what you're going to get. He's that type of guy. If we can get a dynamic point guard, by all means, I think we should. um but to be honest, I prefer Brunson over Fox because I feel
Mm,
like Fox can't shoot, and I feel like Fox is not a playmaker. Fox is a scorer, and he's not even a score first, play make second like a Dame or Curry. He's a score first, score only. He's not going to bring that playmaking. Do we need yet somebody else with the ball in his hand that's not going to create for someone else? So I'm kind of thinking about what fits with the team as opposed to who has the higher ceiling.
hmm. And Brunson, oh, do you know what Brogdon makes?
I think Brogdon makes anywhere from 18 to 20.
And what do you think Brunson's
I
worth?
don't think. I think the max. Well, I think the max would probably be 15. The max would be that. I don't see him getting that 18 to 20 million dollar a year contract.
Hmm.
Um, yeah,
See, that's my only like. I like Brunson. My only concern is too his height. I don't know what his wingspan is compared to it to be like, all right, well, he kind of makes up for the height with the wingspan, but his height, because I believe he's 6'1", right?
either 6'1". Some places I see 6'1", other places I see 6'2".
Okay.
I'm okay with that. Lowry was undersized. Van Vliet was undersized.
Well, what's Larry's height?
I
He's
think Lowry's like 6'1" too.
okay.
You know,
Maybe it's just
uh,
he's so chunky. I be thinking he taller sometimes.
yeah, I'm gonna
Um,
look it up right now because I'm and see if I'm off. I'm off. He's 6 feet.
Larry is. Oh wow.
Yeah,
Well, I mean
yeah,
that changes some things because I think he is in that
mhm.
mold.
Yeah. He's
Oh,
6 feet.
and 15. So 3 year 45. You would be all right with that. You wouldn't be like
I
ah.
would be all right with it. Definitely. That position would be now unless you can go out and afterwards you could still trade in and go out and get somebody better at that position. But he changes everything for us, and he can get his own shot.
Hmm.
When we played against him the a few games ago, he had Mitch on him, rocked him a few times between the legs, and pulled up for the mid range jumper. So, and he's starting for Dallas. For
Yeah,
those who say he's not a starter, he's starting for
yeah.
Dallas, and Dallas is fifth place in the Western Conference.
It the reason I like him is because he 100% plays with a chip on his shoulder. Like I remember his draft class. I don't remember what year it was, but I remember the rumors of us being interested in him then. I
Mm-hmm,
remember the the debate of where he was potentially going to fall to, because
mm-hmm,
I think they were projecting him in the second round, and
mm-hmm,
and the Knicks having interest, but everything was like underdog, undervalued. You know what I mean? Like he had a good college career for him to be listed as a second rounder because of whatever NBA scouts use to determine these things. You know what I mean? So I
mm-hmm,
think he
mm-hmm.
still has that same chip like a Kyle Lowry, like a Van Fleet, and the fact that when you see his dad in the stands, it's just nostalgia for me. So I wouldn't mind it, but I'm worried because I don't know what his ceiling is. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think he has as high a ceiling. I think he's somebody with a high floor, so you know what you're gonna get
hmm.
every time. I don't think he's gonna be. I don't think he's going to be a Dame Limit a Lillard or he's not going to be that.
Can he
He's
be
not.
as good as Kyle Lowry though? That's what I'm saying. That's
I think he
like
can be.
I see
Yeah.
the
Yes.
I see the comps, but I
Right.
don't know if he can reach that. You know what I mean?
But how did Kyle Lowry be Kyle Lowry? He played dogged defense, you know,
Hmm.
and he knew how to use his body, even though he was only 6 feet. He knew how to use his body and his strength to get to the lane and shield guys off and make the layup anyway.
I guess
And he
all
hit
he
the
would.
three.
I guess all he really would need was for us to become a perennial playoff team, not necessarily a contender for you know what I mean. Because I think that's what made Kyle Lowry consistently being a threat in the Eastern Conference.
Right.
Consistently running into LeBron and losing, but like
Right.
always being there. Best record in the league one year. You know what I mean? Always 350 win teams in a row. Things of that nature. Just
Right.
couldn't get over the hump in the playoffs
Right.
until Kawhi got there and gave him a little boost. But he
Right.
was big then too.
He
So I get
was.
it. I get it.
And he hit big shots. I think that
Hmm.
was another thing that made Lowry Lowry. He hit big clutch shots. And I think that's where Brunson would need to grow in that sense of like hitting clutch, clutch shots. But in terms of his floor game is good. I've always been high on Brunson. I've always been.
Last guy. I know you're high on the kid from the Spurs.
Oh, first choice.
Can you give me some insight on him and why? Because I mean, I've only really watched him or seen him against the Knicks, and even then, I can't really say that anything
Popped.
stood out to the sense that I'm like, yeah, we got to if we could get this guy, you know what I mean? Like good player, I see potential. I just don't know
Right.
what
Yeah.
like
He's another
what's a player
solid
count
guy.
for him? What's a player count for him?
Ooh,
Maybe that will help me.
he's so tall. Mm, I think he's his own thing. I'm trying to think because he's not those dynamic guards I was talking about, like Kyrie and Wall and Westbrook, and he's not that. But his skill set, I think, would be a little better than Brunson. I think because of his height and his wingspan. So yeah, I think he would probably be in that Brogdon Brunson role, but a little higher because he has the length, the wingspan. When he it's like he's unfolding. I think
Mm,
he's like 6'4" with almost a 7 foot wingspan. I mean, it's,
mm,
it's, it's real long, but he's been playing under Pop and learning that point guard position. So he's a triple double threat every single night. Every single night. 20 points. He's a very good rebounder for his size and not 4, 5, 6, like 8, 9, 10. Right. So he's a triple double threat every night. He makes the right play. He's not flashy in terms of his playmaking, but he knows how to run the pick and roll. He knows how to organize an offense. He knows how to pass players into shots. He's a dogged defender, including steals. Um, it's like Brunson Max.
with length.
It's like
Mm,
Brunson Max. I mean, to be able to roll somebody out that he's a plus defender. Whoever he's gotten, he has the advantage defensively for the most part. And a triple double. I don't know how many he's had this year, but this guy is good. But
you
no, he's
you
not. He's
you
not a Wall or no, but nobody like that. He's not.
he's more of a again in the when you say Brunson high floor guy than
High
necessarily.
floor with a ceiling, though. I think his ceiling is high. He's a high floor, but he also has a high ceiling,
Mm.
um, as well. He also now one thing he does have to do when he's doing better this year is hitting the three. He has to do better with that, and I think he just needs to take more. But he's definitely taking the three. He's hitting the three, um, but he has to get better. He has to get better in that respect. I would take him over Brunson. He would be number one.
Mm.
Then
Number
then
one,
Brunson.
like in general, like if you had your choice of who to go after, he would be your number one as
I
far
would
as.
go after him. I would go with him over Fox. I would go with him over Halliburton, and I would go with him over Brunson. It would be um, um, Murray, Brunson, Halliburton, Fox.
Mm, interesting.
Yeah, because
I
Fox
like.
for this team, Fox is just another scorer. You know,
And Fox was known as a defender
he defends too.
coming
He
in.
defends too. No, 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 no.
Okay.
He defends too. But I mean, in terms of like, remember that? Remember when
As far as
we was gonna get
facilitating.
Sexton
Yeah.
facilitated? Remember
Yeah.
all of the
Yeah.
arguments around
Yeah.
Sexton?
I was just about
That
to bring him up.
yeah,
But go ahead.
that's the same with Fox.
Okay.
That's the
Okay.
same with Fox. But
I,
Sexton is a better 3-point shooter though.
I swear I was just about to bring up Sexton. I was about to say I still feel like we should have made that move with the Cavs. And had he not got hurt, I think that would have still been an option.
Did we have that opportunity? Was he out there like that?
I mean, it was more speculation for us, but yeah, I mean the Cavs came out and they were actively shopping him. So yeah, I think we could have made the same. I mean, we probably still could, but he's injured. We could have made the same type of Cam Reddish deal for him.
Mm,
Difference being he doesn't have another year on his contract. I think this is the last year.
right.
But
They may
I
be willing to trade him even
no
now, depending
no they
on.
are. They
Oh, they
definitely
are.
yeah.
Okay,
But he's injured, so it's trading for a guy that you're gonna have to re-sign now or you know negotiate and re-sign in the off season as opposed
that's
to
true because you can't really see him play. So
yeah.
yeah,
But I would have loved. I thought the way you feel about Murray, that's how I felt about Sexton. Like
right.
last year. So what would be your comparisons between those two?
Sexton and
Murray.
DeJounte Murray. Murray is a playmaker.
Okay.
He's more of a playmaker than Sexton. Sexton is probably is definitely a better 3-point shooter than Murray. He's may even I don't know. Murray is averaging close to 20 points too. Um,
Yeah, Sexton was up to 25 though, a year ago. You know what I mean?
right.
Granted, they weren't winning then, but
So he's averaging this season 19 points, 8 rebounds, and 9 assists.
wow.
That's this kid.
All right, all right, all right. I
And
was gonna
last
let
year,
you.
now he's peaking. He's peaking. Last year was 16 points, 7 rebounds, 5.4 assists. So every year, the year before that, 11 points, 6 rebounds, 4. So every year he's taking his game to
All right.
another level.
I was gonna let you go, but this is the last one. What are you giving up for him? What what are you giving up, or
Now I don't.
what are you trying to keep to pair with him? You know what I mean? Like so,
Everything is on the table. In my opinion, other than Randall, RJ, Grimes. So this is me, and I know the fan base would disagree. I would give up 2 young players in a first round pick for DeJounte Murray. I would. So I would give up an Obi Quick in a first. And I know people will say I'm crazy, I'm out of my mind. But you put this guy in that starting lineup, it just takes care of so many issues for us. You got DeJounte Murray, you still got RJ, you got Randall, you got Mitch. I know that's a lot. I know that's a lot, but I think he's
what?
that
All
special.
right, all right, all right, all right. What is our bench? We giving up Obi Quick in the first. That opens up the spot for Reddish. Obviously, we got Rose, Burks, Reddish.
Grimes, McBride,
All right, all right. So we got
Sims,
Rose, Grimes, Burks, Reddish, and Noel
Noel.
or whatever. That's interesting. I'm trying to make
I
sure
would.
that our
It's a lot
bench
though.
is
It's a
still
lot though.
intact. But I think it would be because everybody everybody would have a role now. It's no who needs minutes for this guy. You know what I mean? Like the bench could be their own unit. It's kind of like what they are. It'd be a veteran unit other than Reddish and
Yeah,
Grimes.
yeah. And that's a lot.
Mm,
But I just like this kid. I see a lot in him. And him and Tibbs would be, first of all, coming from playing for Pop.
yeah,
He heard all the
yeah.
curses and all the cursing out and all that. So his skin is thick enough for that. And he knows how to run a team.
drip,
He knows how to
drip,
run a team.
drip. Ross says, "I agree. Do the trade. You already tried it on
I did not. I
Fansbook.
did
All
not
right, you're
try.
gonna have to do that and submit it to Andy and Josh so they could review it and give you your kudos. Um,
Yeah, I don't know if that would I don't know if that would work. And I
how,
don't think they're trying to get rid of him,
and
but
what about SGA? Because I think we could
I
do
like
a pick based trade and probably one player or maybe the same two. I don't know, but I think
yeah.
we could get that. We could make that happen just off picks. You know what I mean? Because they
You think
seem to
so? They
die,
got so many picks out there, and we
but they
need to get rid of some of these young
but they're
players to
still
open up
ask
rotation spots.
they're still asking for picks. I want to say it's already been reported. I don't remember who else is on that team because they basically recently said such and such is available and they need picks or they want a pick. So I can only think it's him. He's
Oh,
the
if I mean if that's what they want, and he's only making
mm,
$15.4 million.
that's the thing is we can't send Kemba back.
Yeah. I mean, you're gonna have to send somebody that they would want. um, maybe Fournier, because he would fit great in that system.
and he could
Um,
be the man.
yeah.
So Fournier,
Let's
I think they
see.
want a young guy too.
So let me just put that exact trade in there and see if it would work. I don't think so. And where are the picks? Oh, we only got one, right? Because we traded the Charlotte pick, right? But we still have the
Yeah,
Dallas pick, don't we? But the
yeah.
Dallas pick
Dallas
is
is
not this year.
23. No, it's
Oh, it's
23.
20. Got you.
And honestly, I'd be more willing to trade our pick this year.
Then the Dallas pick.
I mean, if they won it this year, I wouldn't be opposed to it. If they and especially like if they didn't want Dallas, I'd offer ours this year or Dallas next year because I don't think this year is a great draft. And I think that trade would work
It would
because
not work.
no,
Knicks are unable to complete this trade since they are not a tax-paying team. And oh, right, it's not enough money. Obi's only making 5.1 million. Emmanuel Quickly is only making 2.2.
oh yeah, no, we got to add
Yeah, it's not. We got to add. Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
10
It's not
million.
enough.
I thought you was checking Fournier. I thought you said Fournier.
I did mention.
I was
Funny.
like,
Let's see.
because Fournier should be a lot. We'd be over, but they have salary. They got cap space, so they could absorb the difference.
Okay, they are taking back too much.
They don't got cap space.
Well, I had all three of them, so I got to take one
Oh,
out. So I
okay.
probably would take out. Let's see. Let's see now.
If they're choosing, they probably want quickly.
Yeah. You think so? I think quickly would make Pop retire. I think. I think.
Oh, you doing Murray? I thought you was doing SGA.
Oh, I was doing Murray. Um.
Quiet money, salute.
Yes. Salute, Quiet Money. Um. You said OKC
Yeah, because you said he
all the way
makes
at the
what,
bottom.
15?
Gilchrist only makes 5.4.
What?
Yeah. Let me view his contract.
He got an extension on the table?
Yep. $5.4 million.
How many years?
Okay, his contract. Oh, he has his rookie extension. So
Kicking in.
next year he's gonna. Oh my! Next year he's making 29.7.
Mm, yeah, they ain't letting him go.
Yeah,
And,
and that's a
and
lot to take in. You don't
I
think?
mean, I mean, if you did it now, it is a lot to take in. But you trade for him now, you're only sending back 5 million, and you got your guard for the next what, 4 years? It's a 4 year extension.
Yes. That last year he's making 36.8 million.
I mean, mm,
He's averaging 22.4 points, 4.7 rebounds, 5.4 assists.
I do it because I think if the rebounds don't go up, fine. I think the assists will go up. You gotta think he's dropping off some passes that aren't being uh converted by some of these younger, inexperienced teammates.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do I do it over one of these other guys? Only if it's this year, because now you're giving up a minimum salary. You only matching 5-6 million,
Mm-hmm.
and granted, you'll be well over luxury tax next year, but you have a full, like, I guess the only other need would maybe be the stretch five if you still want to go that route.
Wow. I was trying to see if who's making around SGA's money just to see.
This year, or once the extension kicks in.
This year. So what I wanted to, what you just said, I
Mm.
meant to take him out.
It's got to be what, Obi, or I don't even think quickly, because quickly was later. Obi's probably the closest because Knox is gone, and then
Wow, trading him for Obi would put us at the hard cap. Shit. And not that I'm not saying that they would do that. I'm just trying to. They said remove 1.2 million. Wow. I'm just trying to see if what you're saying, we would just have to match his salary this year.
yeah, if we did it this year, but you saying we can't because Obi, you saying Obi makes too much?
Yeah, it was like 5. He made 5.4, Obi 5.1. They said take off 1.2 million.
So we would have, it would have to be like quickly and Grimes, or some kind of combination of quickly and
Oh, wait a minute. Whenever I adjust the trade, I keep forgetting to take the other guy out. Hold on.
uh
So for whatever reason, the Knicks would have to give like somebody making like 3 million or something like that. Like
Are they can't be capped?
that's what they said. They capped like so he's making 5.1 million. The Knicks have to send back like 3 point something because they would be hard cap. Let me see.
Quiet Money said get SGA at all costs.
Oh. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do this over because you can't
Over.
do Solomon Hill because Solomon Hill just came, so uh it has to be like 2 weeks, 2 months.
His extension was signed in OKC.
Who's that?
SGA. It had to have been right.
Yeah.
Well, technically, no. You can sign. Oh, so if we extended Cam this year, it would kick in next year.
Yeah.
It would negate the player option. It would be like declining, or it would negate the team option, or would it
He
take
it's
place
considered
after
a
the team?
poison pill contract. Now I don't we would need Andy to help or Josh to help me
Oh,
understand what a poison pill contract is. He's on a rookie contract and signed an extension that's gonna start the following season. He can no longer be traded for a player making equal money. Instead, his current salary is averaged along with the salaries he is to receive in his extension. And that average becomes his income and salary for
oh,
trade purposes.
that's dope. I
Yeah,
mean, so basically, they can't. You can't give back 5 million for them. You got to give back the division of whatever he
right.
makes this year plus the extension divided
And
by
then divided by,
4.
right, right. His outgoing value for the Thunder will be 5.4 million, while his incoming value for the receiving team will be, yeah, 29.6. So yeah,
Oh,
that's why it kept failing.
oh, so the Fournier thing would work. Plus, you know what I mean? Another what 10 million?
But they were saying there was three reasons why it didn't work. That was the that was the
Mm,
third one. But the other one was that the Knicks would be going over the cap to sign him
yeah,
over a
yeah.
hard cap. And
And you have to be under the salary cap to trade for somebody that puts you over the hard cap. I believe you can't be over the regular salary cap and trade for somebody that
right,
that hits the hard cap. I think the hard cap is only for re-signing your own players, your own free agents, people that you can go over to
right,
extend.
yeah,
So they really locked him up
yeah.
in
I
a
mean, it's
sense.
doable. You know, it's definitely doable, but I would have to play around with this for a minute um to find a way to do it. Yeah,
Well, this was fun. We
yeah,
kind of
definitely,
doubled up on the time that I thought, but you know what? It was fun, so it was worth it. Appreciate you joining us as always.
absolutely.
We got the crossover on Wednesday,
On Wednesday, yep,
so we'll figure out there's no game Wednesday, so what we doing
right.
6:30?
6:30 is good. I think Ron and them the NBA report, I believe they're moving it from Thursday because the Knicks play to Wednesday.
Okay,
So, but they usually stop around 8. So if we get 6:30, that'll be fine.
okay, sounds good. 6:30 the crossover.
Yep.
And then you got still Knicks fans coming on right after that.
Yep.
So stay tuned. I appreciate you guys in the chat as always. Your blackest time.
And I think